I'm in the Court of Appeals right now, all because of this. You see that screenshot? That screenshot the court didn't take as evidence. The court said petitioner asserts that those documents were submitted on that date. Look at what the date says. What does the date say? 1/4/1/4/1/4. Why would I make it up? What, did I Photoshop the screenshot to have 3 documents showing 1/4 and the fourth one showing the 1/5 date that you're saying all 4 documents were submitted? No. So basically, you have a right, in the circuit court, you have the right to a de novo review of a commissioner's ruling. If a commissioner and a judge are not the same thing, you can't appeal a commissioner's ruling. Now, a commissioner can be in family court, it can be in criminal court, you can also see him in the civil court at times. But if the commissioner's order is the final order, you have either 15 or 20 days, whatever the time frame they give you, to file a de novo review. Well, I had 20 days to file it from December 15th to January 4th, every single day, and when I say every day, I mean every single day, including Christmas and New Year's, I worked on a 51-page de novo and objection to the commissioner's oral ruling. It said that I was a day late because I submitted the documents on Sunday, January 4th, prior to 8 p.m. That's what that screenshot right here is. It says the date. That's my filer view. So, like, because I'm on e-filing and I'm representing myself, when I log on, this is my filer view. This is not seen by the public. This is not something the public can get, okay? This is the public record. This is what the public record would look like. This is what normal people see when they see a public court record. They don't get to see the filer view. That only the courts and the person that has the filer view can see. So, but the problem is, when the clerk of courts open the document after a weekend, they can only see the original submission time at the moment they open that document. So because I submitted the 4th document prior to the clerk's office opening that Monday morning on January 5th, the 4th document I did submit on the 5th, but there were 3 documents I submitted on January 4th. And the clerk, they might not have seen it. It could have been the circuit court system or CCAP. They could have had it errored or something. But anyway, bottom line is their side is showing them the submission day as January 5th because that's when the clerk opened it and that's when it's file stamped. Now, there are other documents like I've submitted on weekends and it shows a submission and it shows a different date than the file stamp, but in this case they act like this never happens. It happens all the time. This is the first de novo I ever filed, ever, and this is the first de novo in 15 years on this same case. If I would have known my right to de novo, I would have filed a de novo in 2021, in 2022, and even prior to that of commissioner's rulings. But this last ruling, it struck another nerve. So the documents they were filed on the 5th because the clerk of court's not open on Sunday. Duh. They're not open on Saturday or Sunday. Now in Wisconsin, there are statutes for time computation, right? Like 990.001. That's one statute you need to remember if you want to know time computation. And in that statute, it states that if the act is on a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday, that, like it goes to the next business day that the clerk's office is open. So like in my case, the 20th day was a Sunday. So technically, that time should have rolled over to the following day, which was Monday, January 5th. Therefore, the court messed up. But I didn't use statute 990 in my motion to reconsider vacate. I used the e-filing statute, which the court then used against me because the court's saying that their side shows the January 5th. Like saying petitioner asserts documents were submitted on January 4th. How is this? How the hell is this petitioner asserts? I'm pretty sure that's proof that there's a discrepancy. And why is the court not doing anything when I challenged it immediately? I called because I had denied the same day it was filed. On January 5th, I got denied. The same day it was fucking filed. So I called and left a voicemail because they weren't even open when the denial came through, which is in the court record right here. And here's in the court notes, it says, JA received a voicemail from PE, which is petitioner, indicating document 169, motion for de novo, was allegedly submitted on the 20th day of 1/4/2026. That document on CCAP indicates filing was 1/5/2026. Clerk is unable to go back and see when the document was originally submitted. So they just admitted that the clerk cannot go back and see when the document was originally submitted. Okay, then it says, JA is unable to go off any other date than it was listed on the document 1/5/2026, making the order stand as it is out of the 20-day limit. No further action taken. Now this is on January 6th. January 7th is when I filed the motion to reconsider vacate and then a notice regarding the e-filing. Now on January 22nd, I got the decision on my motion to reconsider vacate. And that decision says, the court finds that although petitioner asserts de novo documents were submitted on Sunday, January 4th, 2026, the electronic filing system reflects a completed submission date of January 5, 2026. The court further finds that pursuant to Wisconsin statute, this is where they used my own statute against me, 801.184 a.m., a document is considered filed on the date and time the electronic filing system records completion of the submission, provided the document is subsequently accepted by the clerk of court, which that is exactly what that statute states. However, there's a discrepancy between when the document was actually submitted. And, I mean, this proves that there is a discrepancy. This proves it. This screenshot right here proves that there's a discrepancy. My file review would not show a date of 1/4 unless it was submitted on that date. And I submitted a motion to correct and supplement the record to the circuit court after I filed my notice of appeal. The circuit court, and in that one, my screenshot I had a different screenshot. I had the one where it just says submitted for those three documents, and the names are not what the clerk changed the names of the three documents. I didn't have these names. These were not named what the clerk renamed my document. Because when I submitted the documents, one just said de novo, the other one said it was a de novo in objection to the commissioner's oral ruling, and it said that. And then the last one was a declaration, which a declaration is just basically you're swearing under oath that what you're saying is truthful. So I submitted that motion to correct because I thought before the record was transmitted to the Court of Appeals, from what I understood from reading these different books that you get, like when you are in the Court of Appeals, they send you this book. So this is the one that I use. See, so they send you this book along with, this is what you get when you file an appeal. They send you this stuff when you're representing yourself. And you see I have all my notes in it. But basically, from reading all of this stuff, what I thought I understood was that before the record was transmitted, that the circuit court still had the ability to correct the record, right? So I submitted that document 189, to the circuit court, and the circuit court, and I showed the circuit court the screenshot. I also brought up how the respondent's filing had a file stamp of 10/23, but I didn't get an email of it being on the record until December 18th. How does it have a file stamp of October 23rd, but it was not actually filed and put on the record until December 18th? And I have proof of that. And then there's this, I told you, the screenshot that says it's submitted, but on that, I was telling the court I submitted the documents prior to 8 p.m. You know what time the screenshot was? And I didn't even know this. The screenshot itself was at 7:55 p.m. So when I said prior to 8 p.m., I wasn't wrong. And I was just like, kind of guessing because I knew that the game was on. So, because I tried submitting it on Saturday originally, but then I messed some, I don't know, I did something wrong. So I ended up playing around with the document because I had to fix some things anyway. But I did it on Sunday prior to 8 p.m. And I submitted that screenshot with the timestamp this time, which I wish I did in my motion to reconsider vacate. But when I did my motion, when I submitted that motion to correct the record, The circuit court responded saying that they lack the authority because the case is now in the Court of Appeals. The whole case would be dropped in the Court of Appeals if you just admitted that you messed up. Because in my motion to correct the record, I asked the court to do one of two things. One, either go by with the Wisconsin time computation statutes and declare that my de novo filing was timely under Wisconsin law, or two, have the clerk of court contact the e-filing system and obtain the original submission metadata to prove the original submission time of my de novo documents, because that's the whole argument, right? And the circuit court didn't say no. They just said they lacked authority. You lack authority now. But what sucks is, like, I thought that would have gone to the Court of Appeals. No. But I found out that that's considered new evidence because I had already filed the notice of appeal. So anything after the notice of appeal is pretty much, you can't be sent over. And like when I first filed my notice of appeal, I thought I was appealing 3 orders. I thought I was appealing the commissioner's ruling and then the 2 denials of my de novo, which the denials are kind of ridiculous. Like, when you have a commissioner ruling, the only way to have a judge level review is through a de novo review hearing. So they took away my statutory right. This case is not just about me at this point. This case is about hundreds or thousands of people someday that are losing their rights because courts do this kind of shit every single day to people that do not have an attorney. Why? Because we don't know any better. And the courts know that. And that's the sad part. When I did my motion to reconsider vacate, that was the time for them to do that. Why didn't they? They didn't. They still said petitioner asserts. So yeah, am I angry? Damn right I'm angry. And in my appeal, I state all of my argument. The other party's attorney asked for an extension, so on June 26th, they have until June 26th to do the response brief. And once they submit the response brief, which I'm assuming is going to attack every single argument in my brief, but and basically say 20 days is 20 days. However, they don't have to submit a response brief, okay? But you have the right to reply to that response brief, but you only have 15 days for the reply. So for your original brief, most people get confused by this, and I'm going to be clear and let you guys know, because not everyone knows stuff about the Court of Appeals. It's not common for you people to actually know the real rules. Now, people think your brief is due 40 days after you filed the notice of appeal. That's not true. Your brief is due 40 days after the circuit court transmits the record to the Court of Appeal. So the circuit court, in my case, transmitted the record to the Court of Appeals on March 2nd. So I had 40 days from March 2nd, but I asked for an extension, and they granted me a little bit of an extension. So I submitted it on April 27th. Yeah, April 27th is when I submitted it. But I had until May 4th for the extension that I asked for. Even though I asked for a little bit longer, they gave me until May 4th, which was fine, because I had to change. But the whole way I was doing the brief was wrong originally, because I thought I could appeal the commissioner's order, but you can't appeal a commissioner's order. The only way to appeal a commissioner's order is through a de novo review. So know your rights. And for a de novo, you do not have to do a 51-page document. It's just, there's a 1-page form. It's a 1-page form that you got to fill out for a de novo review, technically. But the reason why I didn't mind the way I did it is because I have a seizure disorder. Like, when I start to stutter sometimes. You might have heard me while I'm talking now, like I stutter a little bit. That's something that I cannot help. When I'm under severe stress, like, it gets pretty bad to the point that it can annoy people, and I'm not stupid, I get that. So I basically drafted my de novo kind of like a brief, so the judge could decide without me having to speak in court. So when they denied it the same day it was actually filed, that was hard. How can you deny it the same day it's filed, for one, and then you call it late? That's not cool. This case is not just about me anymore. Like, it's about everybody in the state of Wisconsin that has a procedural right for a judge level review. And the court should not be able to get away with this kind of crap. So that's why I asked for it to be published, because we do need guidance. Even if I don't win, publish it. Publish it. Because look, we need guidance. There's nothing published out there. I could not find a single case similar to mine. Not one. Not one. And that's the hardest part. Because how, like, when you're in the Court of Appeals, you have to use other cases as references, right? Basically, my point of all of this is, don't give up. Don't stop fighting. Like, if you believe that you have the right, you know, to be in front of a judge, or you believe that someone, you know, has violated your rights in some way, don't just throw your hands in the air and give in. Don't do that. Start doing research. Look up the laws. Get knowledge. Ask questions. If you don't ask questions, you'll never find the answers. And that's what I'm still doing. I'm still finding the answers because I'm still asking questions. And most of my questions haven't even been answered yet. But I'm hoping that once this case is completed, that the Court of Appeals will answer all of those questions. And hopefully, my goal is that it'll help other people have their rights not taken from them. So when another person, like me or not like me, whatever, when they try to have a de novo review and a situation like mine comes up where their deadline is on a Sunday and, you know, it's not file stamped until Monday, well, they should still have the statutory right to have a judge level review, especially when you can't appeal a commissioner's ruling. Like, a judge's order, you have 45 to 90 days to appeal a judge's final order. Now, if that order is, like, if a judge made this ruling orally and there was no written order memorizing it, I would have had 90 days from the date of the ruling, or 45 days of when the written order is placed. However, of a commissioner's order, you can't appeal a commissioner's order. So, I had to appeal the 2 denial orders from the judge. The judge didn't even look at my de novo filing. Didn't even read a single page. And that's the part that aggravated me the most, because I spent my Christmas holiday working on legal documents. I didn't even get to see my kids. My daughter's not speaking to me, all because I filed this case. It took me years to have the courage to finally file against my ex, because I am still intimidated. I am still manipulated. I still, like, would probably give in if they would just talk to me like normal people. But, like, to have my daughter sit there and tell me that I hurt her family and I hurt her dad, and it's like, how did I hurt your father? He didn't even get in trouble. Like, he was, the one contempt that he was found in, he didn't even get in trouble for. And all of the other stuff, she acknowledged literal violations. Like, I have the recording. She says, literal violation of the order. Her exact words. But then excuses it for this reason or that reason. Like, every single reason she excuses it for is just it's BS. And the whole thing that really bothered me, I testified to stuff in October that when she said her oral ruling, it didn't make any sense. All because that was in his response. He submitted no proof. Every single text and email that was submitted by the respondent wasn't even between him and I. It was between me and his partner, alleged domestic partner. There's no proof of that shit either. That just came out of nowhere this last year. I never heard that. We were in court in 2022 over the tax, and there was another order that reaffirmed my right to claim one child, but he kept doing it, so I couldn't claim. All this money and built up arrears. The arrears would be paid off if I was claiming the child. Okay, this is what people need to understand. When I got divorced, I left with nothing. I assumed all the debt, which is over $100,000 in my name alone. He had nothing in his name. Nothing. Except the house, which had a USDA rural housing loan, and that was covered. And I made sure he didn't have to pay a dime back on that, because that's one thing I can guarantee. But all the credit cards were in my name. the loan, like the personal loans, the car loans in my name, the student loans, over $30,000 in student loans, $30,000 in restitution. Like, we were still married during all this stuff. I didn't ask for anything. I was a stay-at-home mom, too, during the marriage. Prior to that, I worked 2 or 3 jobs, really, before I had my son. But once I had my son, it was cheaper to stay home than it was to pay for the daycare for 2 kids. Yeah, Max couldn't keep a job longer than a year. So that was another difficult situation. But now, like, he's with a person who I'm grateful for her, and I thanked her a lot, but I'm sorry, you know, like, you are not their mother at the end of the day. I'm still their mother. I still have legal rights, and you have denied me of those rights for years. I've let you guys walk all over me for years because I felt guilty. I have a lot of regrets, but the one thing I don't regret is having my children. And regardless of how they feel about me right now, like, at the end of the day, they're still my kids. I still love them. If they call me, I'll be there for them in a heartbeat. That's never going to change. And I just hope my daughter realizes that this case is not to hurt her in any way. It's between me and her father. And the fact that her father is involving the children, it just shows you, you know, what it really is. So, like, when my daughter was trying to talk to me about it, I just said, I'm not discussing it with you. That's between us adults. Because I used to say things to my kids that I shouldn't have said. And looking back at it, like, I have a lot of regrets. But you know what? All I can do, and this is for everybody, all you can do is learn and grow and move forward and acknowledge your mistakes. Like, really sit down and acknowledge what you did this wrong, you did that wrong. You acknowledge things you don't want to acknowledge. You don't have to put it out there for the world. This is something you should do for yourself, because for me, it helped me tremendously. And I think it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to look at yourself in the mirror and hold yourself accountable for things that you did or you didn't realize that you did, but you did do. That's something that I think everybody should do, and I think you can learn a lot by doing that. And like, for me, it's one day at a time. Every single day, like today, you know, I'm doing all right. I haven't messed up today, but you know what? Tomorrow I might say something stupid. I might mess up, you know what? I might do something dumb. But then we gotta move past it. We gotta move on. Like, there's always gonna be something in life that you have no control over. That's life. But making it through it one battle at a time, one day at a time, you will get through it. You will survive and you will thrive. Every battle that you face in your life is preparing you for something else. Now, I've been through a lot of crap in my life, and that I'll talk about that in my podcast because it's way too much to talk about on here. But I will tell you that it definitely made me a lot stronger than the average person. And by looking at me, you wouldn't see that. A lot of people wouldn't even guess half the stuff I've been through just by looking at me or whatever. But that's why you can't ever judge a book by its cover. You don't know what the other person's going through. You don't know what's in their heart. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what kind of life they've had. You don't know how their parents are. You don't know how their kids are. You don't know anything. All you know is you see a picture, you see a post, you think that's the truth. Most people's posts are BS. Most people post just the good times. They paint themselves like they're this happy family or whatever, when really they have a lot of other stuff going on underneath the surface that you don't see. And that's what most people don't want to admit, but here I am talking about it because I think people need to admit it. Because once you're able to do that, I feel like I don't know, I feel like I've got like a sense of peace that I didn't have before since I've been able to go back and look at everything. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's honestly how it feels. So, like, for example, I treated my daughter differently than I did my son. And there are reasons why. However, is it her fault? No. It's not her fault at all. She didn't deserve me being mean to her. She didn't deserve me treating her like crap when she was being naughty. She didn't deserve none of that. growing up. You know, I have so many regrets. I can't count them, you know, but at the end of the day, my love's still there, and I realize it now. And now, like, when I want to have I told my daughter that when she's ready to talk to me, that I have a lot of things that I'd like to talk with her about. And, like, that I have to apologize to her for, and I need to admit to her. But I didn't want to sit there and say it then, and I don't want to do it when she's not ready. So my daughter's 20 years old. It's not like she's a little kid anymore. So, but there's a lot of things that as a parent, I think all parents make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, but it's just, you know, being able to recognize those mistakes, learn from them, grow from them. That's what makes you a better person. Not the money you have, not what you're driving, not the house you're living in, not the clothes that you're wearing. What's in here and in here. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and hopefully I helped some advice. I don't know if I helped at all, but have a good day. Thanks, guys. Bye.